Hey guys, I am super excited today because it's finally the day where I get to go and see the dietitian. If you've been following me for a little while, then you'll know I've had some serious gut health issues in the last 6 months. And of course, my skin is still a concern. As you can see, I'm still breaking out at the moment. So I'm really hoping I'm gonna get some good suggestions. I thought I would take you along for the ride because I'm gonna be asking her some questions, or him. Wrong for me to assume, about what I can be eating. So far it's been kind of a confusing journey, to be honest, because it's so hard to work out what to eat when you are suffering with some health concerns. There's a lot of conflicting advice on the internet. So yeah, just want to be real with you guys, make sure that you're seeing things that a professional actually suggests. Obviously this is going to be specific to my health concerns, but yeah, thought it would be relevant if any of you guys are dealing with things like SIBO, IBS, acne. This might also be able to help you as well. So yeah, stick around. I'm going to take you through the day with me. And yeah, feel free to leave me any questions in the comments. I'll happily get back to everybody. So I just got out, I've had a really good chat with her and it was super helpful. So I'm going to get home now, make a cup of tea and debrief with you guys. So we're back and it was super interesting because I guess ever since my skin broke out, I have been really interested in nutritional health. So there's lots of questions that I've always really wanted to ask a professional. You know, what is the best diet for skin and gut health? And how long do I have to be on these diets? Are they forever? You know, do you need to restrict? Are there certain food groups that you absolutely have to rule out? So all those questions I was obviously really interested in asking. She's gone through an entire plan with me, which I'm going to take you through now. Remember though that this is a plan for me and she has met me to discuss the needs of my health, so this won't apply for everybody, but I thought it'd be interesting to share the experience and give you guys an idea about maybe how you can address any of your health concerns with diet. So the first thing with this diet plan is really thinking about what it is that you want to achieve. If you're dealing with something like IBS or SIBO, then the low FODMAP diet is very regularly introduced as a way of determining which foods really trigger your symptoms. So for me, I am dealing with IBS, I'm dealing with SIBO, as I said, so I really want to go through a plan like the low FODMAP diet to really see which ones are the real culprits. But it's important to remember that you're going to be ruling out some foods and then reintroducing them. So it's really not a forever diet, and that's one of the things I was super happy about hearing. And I think this really applies if you are also dealing with skin issues. A way that I've been looking at my skin over the last year or two is really holistically. So I might introduce new foods, but I will also monitor when I take them out to see if they make any difference. But for my skin, I've been doing it as like whole food groups, whilst the low FODMAP diet for my gut health doesn't seem to be food groups. It's not like saying you mustn't eat dairy or you mustn't have sugar or you mustn't have, I don't know, gluten. Actually, gluten you can't have. But yeah, it's not really food groups as such. It is individual foods that have these, I guess, carbohydrates that your body doesn't break down very easily. So they kind of ferment in your stomach where the bacteria kind of thrives. So firstly, there is an app, a low FODMAP app that I'm going to be using. She also shared this long list of like foods that you can and can't eat. I'll link the app that she explained to me down in the description bar, but I'll also put up like an image now so you can have a quick look at what the app looks like. I would really recommend using something like that as a guide, just because I know what it feels like to really restrict what you're eating and not really know if it is right or wrong. And I don't think there are like clear, definitive right or wrong answers when you're doing something like the low FODMAP diet, because lots of the foods, it's kind of depending on the portion. So you want to really reduce the FODMAPs, not completely rule them out, obviously. So yeah, regardless if it's for your skin or your gut health, the best thing to do is really to pull back on the things that you assume might be contributors to your problems, and then track that way and reintroduce them gradually. So for me, when I was dealing with my skin, I ruled out sugar completely. And then after a time of tracking, I realized I can have some sugary foods. Most of the time, if I'm going to have sugar, I try and balance it out with protein and fat. I would say 99% of the time I do that, just so I can keep my blood sugar levels in check. But the way I tested this was actually throughout my cycle. So I noticed that around ovulation, when my testosterone spikes, if I introduced sugar at that time, that would be when my skin really started to break out. So I then tracked and saw that actually having sugar, maybe during my period, if I wanted to have some chocolate, or if I had ice cream during that time, my skin wouldn't react as much. So the same is true for the low FODMAP diet. Restricting is quite a big part of the first sort of 4 to 6 weeks, and then slowly you reintroduce foods. And oh my God, there are tons of foods that I would never have expected to be in here, like garlic and onions for starters. Until researching the low FODMAP diet, I really didn't realize they'd be an issue, and I eat them all of the time. And I think it's very apparent as well that gut health also can affect your skin. I actually had Ebony on this channel a little while ago, who has an entire acne channel as well, so I'll link hers below, and she talks a lot about like nutrition and gut health, and she explains some really relevant points. We did a whole video about it, so again, I'll link that in the description. But yeah, if your gut health is playing up, you're not absorbing your nutrients correctly, that is going to have repercussions on your health, including your skin. So the dietitian explained that there are some fruits and vegetables that are really high in FODMAPs. I'm not going to list out what FODMAP stands for because quite frankly, I don't know how to pronounce all of the names, but I'll put them on screen. But essentially there's lots of fruits and vegetables and carbohydrates that have FODMAPs in them. And you really want to rule these out and then reintroduce them to see which ones your body reacts to. So that is what I'm going to be doing over the next 4 weeks. And then I go back and see her. Key things were like gluten, they were dairy, but with lots of lactose. So I've mentioned this before because I feel like lots of people have really great results removing dairy from the diet. And I've tried this a few times with very little success. And I would imagine because actually not all dairy products actually are high in lactose. It's more things like soft cheeses, cream, ice cream, milk, those sort of products, they do have high lactose. But when you've got things like hard cheeses, like even cheddar, like they don't actually have a lot of lactose. So you can probably get away with eating quite a bit of those without breaking out or having gut health issues. So when you are reintroducing foods, then this page seemed really relevant. It kind of just shows you how you can reintroduce the foods. And it's basically by increasing the portion size each day and seeing how your body reacts to that specific food. So for example, if it was onion, if I wanted to test that, after I've been on the low FODMAP diet for a month or so, you would introduce onions on the first day, you would then the second day, if you hadn't got any symptoms, introduce double portion, wait to see if you react, and if you don't, then an even bigger portion, like triple the portion. So you can really see for yourself with your symptoms if that's something that you can continue to eat. So the dietitian also was talking about things that are just generally deemed as like bloating foods, which aren't necessarily true. She was talking a lot about how white rice is actually digestible, far more so than brown rice in some cases of IBS and SIBO patients. She also was mentioning that bread gets a really bad name, and definitely gluten can be such a big cause of these gut health issues. And even people who have acne will claim that bread might not be best for them. But again, she sort of talks about portions, and she's saying you don't need to restrict all of these food groups. It's just really testing where your boundaries are. So bread might be a trigger for you. But actually, if you only have a couple of pieces of bread a week, you might be absolutely fine. It's just if you eat bread for breakfast, lunch and dinner, that might cause problems. Other things to track whilst you're on a specific diet, like a low FODMAP diet, is really food combinations, because the whole idea is that you're lowering your FODMAP intake. So if you eat lots of things that are in the kind of maybe range, like you have like a no, maybe and a yes in terms of the foods, if you eat lots of maybes together, you're actually increasing the amount of FODMAPs in one portion. So you want to be really careful of that. Other things to remember, which is more specific about your skin, is that you might not react straight away when it comes to your skin. So I would actually give it like, a few weeks to really see if a specific type of food really does affect your skin. For me, I feel like I react fairly quickly, but other people are obviously going to be different. But just make sure that you're tracking this in a diary, in a journal, even on your phone. Like all of these things will really help you see patterns. And I know for a fact that tracking my diet over the last year has been so helpful for my skin. I'm now going to go back and have a look at some patterns anyway that could potentially have caused some of my gut health issues. But yeah, tracking is key. Other really helpful bits of information that she gave me were making sure that you're relaxed when you eat your food. So not rushing your meals. You want to take some time, you want to chew your food properly. All of these things I've heard plenty of times before, but not until a professional really explains this to you do you actually really take it in, I think. For me, I do try and take my time with my food. I'm quite a slow eater, but I have to admit, I eat my breakfast in front of my emails. I probably eat my lunch in front of my emails sometimes. And at dinner, I might be sitting watching TV. So it's not ideal that you're sitting in front of a screen for every meal. You should really take some time for yourself and enjoy your food and actually smell your food and taste your food. It's not just there as an energy source, it's also there to be enjoyed. I think another key thing that I came away from that appointment feeling like was just because you feel like you're eating a healthy diet doesn't necessarily mean it's the right diet for you at this time. So it's not to beat yourself up thinking, oh my God, I've eaten loads of processed and junk food, because honestly, someone with the most healthiest diet, and by that I mean like what's deemed to be healthy, like tons of fresh fruit and vegetables, seeds, nuts, fiber, all of that, even if you're somebody that eats a diet that consists mainly of that, you can still get gut health issues. You can still break out, because sometimes you might be going through something, whether it's a stress situation, whether you are having issues like SIBO, acid reflux, whatever the situation is, there might just be a specific diet that you need to eat for a short amount of time whilst you heal. So yeah, don't stress. It's not your fault if you are going through something like any of these problems I just mentioned, including acne. You can get through it, and you know, the diet isn't necessarily meant to be restrictive forever. It's really just a chance for you to understand your body a bit better. Like I mentioned earlier on in this video, I had a really good chat with Ebony, who is a naturopathic nutritionist who really knows her stuff. So I think what I'll do now is I'll put up a box here, because if you really want a deep dive into how your gut health affects your skin, then that is such an important video to watch, because she really runs through lots of different things. So yeah, click on the link now and I will see you over there.
100%, the first thing you should do is a food diary.
Okay.
Like 100,000,000%.
Okay.
Just even if you do it on your phone, or if you want to write it down, either way, just keep that food diary, because then you can actually start to make the connections in your body and become in